Hi guys. Okay, so today I'm gonna do a bit of a different video. This is gonna be on my story. For those of you who know me personally, you've seen me go through some pretty big ups and downs and sideways and all over the fucking place kind of shit. But life for the last 3 years has been busy, but busy in a positive way. So I'm just here to kind of share my story on some of the shit I went through, some of the shit I've put my kids through, some of the shit I've put my family through, and just to kind of show you guys that, you know, it's never too late to turn your life around. If I can do it, anybody could fucking do it, for real though, because I could fuck up any good situation on a good day. I got like an extreme talent for fucking shit up. It's just what I do best. So yeah, let's start this at the beginning. I'm going to attempt to make this a not so long video, but chances are slim to none because it's a pretty big fucking story. Alright, so let's start at the beginning. So, for me, I was born and raised in Timmins, Ontario. Small town, very far north in Canada, Ontario. About 75,000 people live up there. I was born there, raised by both of my parents. And I had a little brother. We had a dog named Sarge. And we had a pretty normal upbringing, I guess. We did a lot of church. Dad was a workaholic mechanic who had his own shop. Mom was a stay-at-home mom who did Dad's books and saved all the disciplining the kids to my dad. So after working 15 hours a day, coming home to Vic do this, Vic do that, Vic they did this, Vic they did that. It probably led to a little bit of the abuse that went on in our house, but I don't blame any of what I did to myself on my parents. Don't take me explaining that as an excuse, because it's not. They did their best, you know. And me being a parent, a responsible parent right now, I understand a little bit more what they kind of went through. I wish they would have dealt with some things in different ways, but, you know, it is what it is. So, yeah, the beginning, I had a good childhood, raised with my parents, this and that. They got divorced when I was 12, and that is when my life started to turn for the worse. My parents got divorced, and like in any divorce, you know, mom takes the kids. Mom took us to New Liskeard. We lived in a women's shelter for a little bit till she was able to get a place. My dad was a little bit of a, I don't know, the way I remember it, my dad was a bit of a stalker. I don't know, had a really hard time letting her go, so we were living protected for the first little bit, and then we got our own place, and we started visiting with my dad and so on. And while going to Dad's was fun, I got to smoke. My dad let me smoke. I was like, pretty sure I was like 13 or something when he gave me my first cigarette. I was in the car, and I'll never forget it. I wanted to go to my friend Sarah's place, and he didn't want to let me because my mom didn't like her. He thought she was a bad influence or something. I don't fucking know. Some stupid reason anyways. And I was crying, having a bitch fit. You know, it's my friend. I want to go see my friend. And fucking whatever. And yeah, he was like, here, I'll never forget it, because he was passing me a cigarette. And I'm like, if I take this, am I going to get like beat in the head? Is he going to like follow it with a backhand in my head? Or is this like legit, he's going to give me a smoke here? So I'm like, took the smoke and I lit it, and I'm like just waiting for the hand to come and smoke me in the side of the head. But it never happened. From that day on, I had my permission to smoke. So guess what I wanted to do after that? I don't want to live with my bitch mom. Fuck that. I want to go and live with Dad. I'm allowed to smoke, and he was buying me my cigarettes and this and that, and had a lot more freedom. So I moved in with my daddy, and my brother came along with me. My dad was, you know, to most kids at that age would have been like an awesome dad. I was allowed to do whatever I wanted, basically, as long as I went to school. One rule I had, that was the only rule, legit, too. Like, I have people over every weekend. I was having boys sleep in my room. I was allowed to party. We had toys. We had horses and skidoos and fucking all this shit. I just couldn't figure out how to make it to school every day. Like, I mean, I would go to school, but I would spend my whole time hanging out at the school next door where I wasn't supposed to be. Instead of going to actual class, I would be out smoking pot and fucking doing acid with my friends. And yeah, I would hang out at school. I just wouldn't go to class. So my dad didn't like that very much. So every time he got a phone call, I got a beating. He's like, one fucking rule, kid. What is your problem? One fucking rule and you cannot listen to me. So anyways, after me not going to school and going home getting beat up, long story short, I just said, fuck all y'all, and I moved out and quit school. And what's anybody going to do about it? My dad tried to do a little bit. He chased me down and took me into children's aid, and I just ran away from there too. He tried to get me locked up in jail. They wouldn't lock me up. So, you know, he honestly tried. He tried, but I just found a way around everything, and I just fucked off on him. So finally I don't think he really let me go. I kind of gave him no choice. So, you know, me and my dad got a really fucked up relationship. Even to this day, you know, like we're tight, but we don't talk. We've both been through a lot together. But yeah, you'll hear more about me and my daddy's lovely adventures as this story goes on. Okay, so I moved out of my dad's. At that point, I was just kind of floating around. I was living up top a strip club at one point. I was 14, living with 4 guys in a room. That was just epically amazing. Doing a lot of drinking, smoking a lot of weed, and doing acid a lot at that point was basically my go-to stuff for fun. That strip club was right across the street from the skate park in Timmins that was down by the river. So spent a lot of time down there, and of course meeting all the older people. I was living with a bunch of 20-year-olds, so I was hanging with the big kids. And I didn't really get into a whole lot of I guess some of you would consider acid a hard drug. I guess it kind of is, but to me, I did it as a kid, and it just never really, I don't know, it was a problem. I remember one point, I think I dropped 16 hits, because every day with acid, you got to double your dose to get high. So at one point, it was a pretty high dose I was taking, but I didn't see a problem with it. I don't know, I was having fun. It was fun. That's it. So yeah, then I met my daughter's dad. So I moved in with him and his family. So there was me, him, his 2 brothers, his alcoholic dad, and his mother. So I lived there for a little while. I got pregnant with Sierra. We moved out to St. Catharines, where we stayed for a while, and I found out he was cheating on me and all sorts of other crap. And so we broke up. I moved back to Timmins. That's when I didn't meet him, but that's when I started dating my son's father, Chris. And that's when, my brother ended up getting into some issues living at my dad's house. So there was me, Chris, my daughter, Sierra, and then my brother moved in with me. And because I was uneducated and didn't really have a job at the time, I was on welfare and selling weed. So my brother wanted to live with me, so I got him selling weed to help pay rent. All this going on with my little girl, Sierra, with us. She was very young. Chris was an awesome dude back then, not so much anymore, but he helped me raise Sierra for years and years and years. But anyways, so we lived together, a bunch of pot-selling fucking teenagers with a baby. Then, what was next? Then I guess the next really eventful thing would have been me having Xavier. We actually planned having Xavier. Why, to this day, I still can't figure out why I needed to bring another child into my fiasco of a life, because at that point, Sierra wasn't even living with me. She was living with my dad. we had gotten a little too involved in drinking and that kind of thing. But then once I got pregnant for Xavier, I quit drinking, and I still smoked weed and I smoked cigarettes when I was pregnant with him. Yes, I know it's horrible, but you know what? That's what I did. In this video, I am being 100% honest about everything I did. And I can't change what I did. It's what I did. So I know some people are probably going, you're fucking horrible. Well, yeah, I was fucking horrible. I was fucking legit one of the most horrible people I know at one point in my life. But things have changed, clearly. So yeah, I smoked weed when I was pregnant. And then I had Xavier. And at this point, my dad had Sierra. Well, he had her just up until just before I had Xavier. I think, this is going back, 14 years now, and my memory is not 100% accurate, so I might be off on a little bit of this, but as far as memory serves, it was right before I had Xavier that he was like, you're pregnant with another one, you can take care of this one too. So she came back to live with me. Then I had Xavier, and we ended up moving into a house in Schumacher where the guy upstairs was dabbling in cocaine. So when we moved in there, and we would drink with this guy every so often, and we'd do a couple lines here, a couple lines there, and it started out as a casual kind of thing. Now, keeping in mind that we sold dope still, babies in the house, and this is how we make our money. Then, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, the guy upstairs, and we were doing coke. Well, then me and Chris started fighting, and things started getting not so good with us. So we broke up, the two kids still with me. And then I just started partying. I got a job at Club 147, and I was waitressing in a bar, which then led me to meet all these lovely drug dealers that hang out in bars. And I'm a waitress at the bar, so therefore I can make the money. So therefore I started selling cocaine. And then I started doing a lot of cocaine and partying all the time, keeping in mind my poor fucking children are still at home with me. So that leading to eventually I lost my apartment I was living in there because I couldn't pay rent. Kids couldn't come with me because I couldn't do anything. So my daughter, sorry, my phone just did something weird. My daughter ended up going back to my dad's, or she went to her dad's. I'm not 100% sure which way she went that time, but she wasn't with me anymore, and Xavier was. But Chris was dating this girl that had 3 kids or something. So one night I had moved into this house, in Timmins, and he had taken Xavier for the weekend, and me being the irresponsible party animal fucking idiot that I was, in my brain just figured, well, you know what, he's gonna stay with his dad from now on. So Chris came back to drop him off at my house when the weekend was over, like he usually did, and every weekend I just, okay, I'd take him back and we'd go on our business and he'd go on his. But this time I just didn't answer the door. I was all fucked up. I partied all weekend, and I was just like, and I can't do this anymore. I can't fucking... So I just didn't answer the door like a total fucking cunt. He stood out there. It was the middle of winter with the baby in his arms, not knowing what the fuck was going on with me. Like, where the fuck is this bitch? She doesn't even fucking, I was too fucked. And I had a house full of people in the basement. And I was like, no, that's the day I just up and decided that I wasn't going to be a parent anymore. And I don't know, it was the most fucked up decision I've ever made in my life. I don't know if it was for better or for worse, but I figured she had 3 kids. He's living with her. they're doing better than I'm doing right now. My son can stay with them whether they wanted him to or not. This is what was happening because I just said, fuck this. So I was selling dope still. I had my safe in this guy's house across the street. And I would just do ecstasy and cocaine and speed and fuck. One night I remember I was by myself too. Party had ended, everybody went home, and I was still sitting downstairs by myself. I had sniffed so much speed I listened to the same fucking Linkin Park CD on replay probably 50 fucking times because the guy that had my safe came over to check on me, and I was in my basement going like this, and I had been doing that for 2 days to the same fucking CD on repeat over and over and over again. So anyways, he's like, you're fucked. But then I had ended up doing a bunch of ecstasy and I wasn't making any sense. I went to his house to try and get into my safe again. And he wouldn't let me in his safe. I tried to punch him out. I was like, fuck you, it's my fucking shit. He just wanted me to go to bed and get my brain back. And I was just fighting him tooth and fucking nail. So finally, he decided that he was going to go into my safe and get me what I wanted. Well, he gave me Valium. After being awake for 3 days, you don't give somebody Valium. That totally slowed my heart rate down, mind you. I understand why he did it. I really do. Because I was fucked. I was accusing him of a bunch of crazy shit. I had been up for 3 days. I had no right mind. So he gave me Valium. I ended up passing out on my kitchen floor. He came over, put me in a bed, came over every couple hours after that to check my heartbeat, make sure I wasn't dead. And then woke me up 2 days later with a coffee saying, like, look, you need to fix your fucking self. This shit's getting out of hand. Don't need you in my house yelling at me, acting a fucking fool, telling me to give you more drugs when clearly you don't need any more drugs. You need to go to bed. But anyway, so long story short, took my safe out of his house and just went on a rampage that time. And, I woke up from it, I don't know, a while later. I was still doing the same old shit. Party, and not even thinking of my fucking children. Like, it honestly didn't even dawn on me. I can't even imagine being my daughter, who was old enough to know, you know what I mean? My son, not so much, but I don't know. It kills me to even think about the crap that I did and didn't even care about. But, so anyways, a little bit further down the road, Sierra's dad ended up with her, and he had broke up with his girlfriend at the time and was working at a coal mine and was having a hard time being able to work shift work and take care of this little girl by himself. So he's like, why don't you, because we were talking and I was like, I'm so fucked right now. I need to get the hell out of Timmins. I need to fucking get away from all these people and I need to fix myself. So he's like, all right, well, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. And now this is my ex-boyfriend that, we don't get along. Why we decided to do this is kind of beyond me. But we decided that, all right, I'm going to move out west to Alberta with him to try and help him with Sierra. Worst decision I think I've ever made in my life. I was there about 2 weeks and I was going out to the bar and doing some stupid shit, and then I ended up working at the bar, but he would go out and get drunk with his buddies and come back, wake me up at 3 o'clock in the fucking morning, yelling and screaming at me, calling me a whore and a this and a that, and fucking, anyways, long story short, he ended up kicking me out at 2 in the morning in a fucking town where I know nobody. So I went to the bar, met some people, crashed on a few couches for a while. Then I ended up working at the bar, and again, my daughter is just torn out of my life. This time not by my choice. But yeah, it just didn't work out with me staying there, and he told me never to go back there. So here I go again, whew, down the fucking hole. But this time it was way worse than any time before. I got a job at the bar. I started selling coke. And then these guys rolled around in town, and they didn't want coke out there anymore. They wanted crack. They wanted people addicted. So they made it so that nobody in that town was selling cocaine. So, well, hi, you want to fuck shit up today? I went and fucked shit up today for myself and this poor other fucking guy that, oh man. So I had so many people that were just like, why can't we do coke? We don't smoke crack. We don't want to do that shit. Anyways, one guy even tried to sniff crack. Yeah, didn't work out for him. So anyways, I went on a mission to try and find these people some coke. And I succeeded. So this guy was coming up working on the oil rigs from another city that was about 2 hours away. So he was getting it for me, bringing it to me, doing me a huge favor, until these fucking idiots that wanted only crack in that town found out what I was doing. Then they got me up in a hotel room, threatening to fucking kill me with a fucking knife, to the point where I got a little gash under here. Still, they never slit my throat or anything, but they had me convinced that they were going to. That was just lovely, telling me they wanted to know where I got it from, who the fuck's selling shit in their town, blah, 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 blah. Fucking ridiculous shit if you ask me, but anyways, I was scared as fuck that they were gonna fucking kill me. They had thrown me around some, and fucking, I was just like, all right, this is just not cool. So I told them where the guy lived. I called him. I went to the door. I knocked on the door so that he opened it, and they went in and beat the fucking shit out of him. All I heard after I knocked on the door, I ran down the stairs and out of the building, and all I heard is, help me, help me, help me, help me. And they came out full of blood, ditching their fucking clothes and dropping me off back at this hotel. And that was the last I ever heard of them. For all I know, they fucking killed this fucking guy in his apartment and left me there to take the fucking blame for it, is basically what I thought was going on. And I'm like, dude, no, I'm not going to fucking jail for fucking murder. Like, what in the fuck? Nobody told me nothing. I never even seen it. Well, actually, that's a lie. Like 2 days later, I was working at the bar still, and I was hoping that I would see this guy and at least be able to know that he was alive. Like, for fuck. So anyways, he was alive. He walked into my bar. He did not even look like the same person, but he was alive. So that was thankful for me. But then I got into this whole mess there with those guys, and everything just scared the shit out of me that I just wanted to leave. So I went to Vancouver, not knowing anybody out there. I just kind of went out there on a whim, and I heard it was beautiful. Well, let me tell you, I found every dirty corner of that fucking city. I ended up addicted to heroin, staying in crash houses. I was fucking, I don't know, I just remember, I don't remember a whole lot of that crap, but I do remember waking up one day and just looking around me, and it was just people sleeping everywhere with needles in their arms. Like, I got so hard into heroin, I had no veins left. I was shooting into my temples and into my neck, and it was fucking disgusting. So I looked around that morning, and I was like, yeah, I don't belong here. I need a job. I need a job, and I need to get a place, and I need to fix myself again. This is like the third or fourth time I attempted to fix myself. So So I went to the job place, and I hadn't checked my emails in months. So I went in there, and I talked to the job counselor lady, and I checked my email. Well, me and my dad at this point probably hadn't spoken in like good 10 years, maybe 5 years, but I'm pretty sure it was closer to the 10-year mark. And I had an email from him, and I'm like, what the fuck? Why do I have an email from my dad? Like, we don't talk. We didn't talk since I left home. I don't know, it was weird to me. So I open it, wondering what the hell. And his email says, something in my heart is telling me I need to get a hold of you and make sure that you're okay. That, like, to this day still brings me to tears, because I was the furthest thing from okay that I had ever been in my life. And to hear from my dad that day, honestly, fucking just like, wow, he still remembers I'm alive. Awesome. So I emailed him back, and I said, no, I'm not okay. I'm going to die. I don't really care. I'm fucked. And he emailed me back saying that he was coming to get me, and tell me where you are. I'm coming to get you right now. And he did. He drove 3 days from Timmins to come and save me, but he had nowhere to bring me. I couldn't go to his house because his wife fucking hated me. So now I'm in Timmins, basically homeless and addicted to heroin. There ain't no fucking heroin in Timmins. At least there wasn't back then. So I got clean in my cousin's basement, who was selling coke, and upstairs smoking crack with hookers and strippers, while I'm in his basement taking trips to the hospital at least once a day, maybe every other day, having seizures, because when you do that much heroin, like, I was trying to commit suicide with a needle. I didn't care at that point. I lost my son. I didn't talk to my parents. I lost my daughter for the 5th time since she was born. I was broken. I didn't care. I was like, whatever. If I smash too much this time, then it's my time to go. I used to fucking rave that, I'll be dead by the time I'm 30. I don't give a fuck. And fucking, it was my thing, man. Let's do as much dope as I can and see if I die this time. So yeah. So I did that. I came off heroin in my cousin's basement. And still haven't talked to my kids at all. At this, where was Xavier? I think Xavier was still, who I thought he was still with Chris, at this point. But once I got sober, what happened after I got sober that time? Oh yeah, is when I found out that Chris wasn't with that girl anymore, and he had taken our son and left him with, I know her, but like, I know her, and that's part of the problem. But he had left him with this woman that I grew up with when I was younger. I used to stay on her couch and shit and steal meat for her from the grocery store so that we can eat. But she always gave me somewhere to stay, but it's not somewhere that I wanted my son staying. So once I got clean, I still wasn't in my right mind, don't get me wrong. I was clean off of drugs, but I was not okay in the head. I went with my aunt and Children's Aid and the police, and I went and I got my son. And I took him to New Liskeard, where I had a place to stay in the same women's shelter that my mother brought me to when I was 12 and my parents got divorced. I ended up going to stay in the same place. Hi, Shelly. Shelly was one of my workers there years and years ago. And now she's actually a friend of mine, which is pretty funny. But, yeah, she saw me go through some of this shit. This is emotional. So yeah, I got Xavier back and we were in that shelter for a little while. And I managed to get myself a job and an apartment. Well, Shelly helped me get an apartment and they set me up with some furniture. And I was back to, I was doing good again. This breaks my heart because I just know how many times I fucked up such good situations. Like, people honestly gave me the world trying to help me and I just fuck it up over and over and over again. But yeah, so I was all set up in this really cute apartment with nice furniture and my son, and my daughter even ended up moving back in with me at one point. Like, I was doing good. And then I decided I needed fucking friends again. It's always the loneliness that seemed to kill me. Like, going to work, going home, dealing with my kids by myself every day was just not fun for me. So I decided I was going to make some friends. So I started going to the bars again, meeting people. And lo and behold, I still had all my old buddies that I used to sell coke for. So I got sick of working. It got in the way of me going out all night, right? So at this point, both my kids live with me. And I was selling dope and I got busted. So there go my kids again after, I don't know, I think it was like 2 years of trying to get my life together and fucking do shit properly. I think I might have lasted like a year. I was clean and sober and working and whatever. And then a year of just chaos of me partying and selling dope and trying to raise my kids and shit just going to hell again. So yeah, I went to jail. Sierra again. Think she fucking went, well, first both my kids went to my aunt, because Children's Aid took them when I went to jail, clearly. And my aunt was a foster parent, so she took them in. And then they got split up after that. Children's Aid was threatening to have him adopted out because he was so young. And Sierra ended up back with my dad again, and they just wanted nothing to do with me at that point. They're like, fuck you, you fucking ruined this kid for no reason. This is, we're not letting you do this to her anymore. Fuck you. And they have every right to do that. I was a fucking idiot. I deserved it. I did not deserve to be a part of my kids' lives back then.